Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today on Customer States What, we have a 2021 Audi Q7. What are we doing? Well, we're doing a multi-point inspection, we're doing a 40,000 mile major service, and we're doing a brake fluid exchange. What's involved? Well, obviously we got to do the brake fluid exchange. We're doing spark plugs, oil change, cabin air filter, and everything little in between. Very good, guys. You know what comes next. We're going to do the multi-point inspection. So let's take it up top. Now that we have taken it up top, we're going to look around. Driver's side tire, 6/32, nothing abnormal going on over here. Good tire wear. Passenger side, unfortunately, the inner tread is 4/32 and the outer is about 5 and 6 over here. What that shows me is that this tire at one point was overpressured and started to wear unevenly on the inside. So today we're cautioning that tire. Front suspension, visual inspection. No abnormal wear or damage found. On our pre-repair road test, there were no noises in the front end or in the rear end, giggity, which is always a good thing. No fatigued bushings, which is good. It's a 2021 with a 41K on it. Nothing should be fatigued. This heat shield is in place, very good. That can cause a rattle when customers or when people hit puddles on the passenger side or in the gutter. Water can push this heat shield up in contact with the exhaust, causing a rattle at certain RPMs, but it's in its rightful position, which is very good. Exhaust sleeve still holding, very good. Driver's rear tire, 6/32, no abnormal wear showing. Passenger rear, 6/32 also. Brakes all around are 9mm approximately. No abnormal wear or damage found to the rear suspension, that's very good. Exhaust back here is looking good. The only thing we did notice, or that I noticed, excuse me, there is some minor pad transfer happening with the front rotors. As you could see, a perfect shape of the brake pad. So this vehicle has probably sat at one point for a long period of time. Let's see if that's on the passenger side. Yes, it is. There's a perfectly shaped brake pad right there. But we didn't feel any abnormal pulsations or grinding from the front brakes, which is very good. Now, let's get this back down and continue the major service. Now that we have it back down, there's a number of things that we need to remove from the top of the engine to gain access to the oil filter and to the spark plugs and to where we suck the oil out of. So this entire cover needs to be removed, the air box needs to be removed, and I believe this bar, yeah, this bar needs to be removed so we can gain access to the oil filter, which is right there. Now let's move along. Alright guys, now that we have the whole air box assembly out, we can have a better look at the engine and what else we have to remove. We do have to remove this bar here to gain access to the oil filter that is right there. Now, big tip and trick guys, big tip, giggity. This is the turbo inlet, the fresh air inlet. I always put a rag over this because you never know when something might just drop in. So let's get this bar out. We got to remove the harness clip here and here so we can remove that bar safely. There are T30s, two there, one there, one there. Very good. Now, very good, ladies and gentlemen. We have a 32mm to get the oil filter out. Now, what I do is I crack it free to the point to where I could see the O-ring is exposed, and I leave it there so the oil filter housing will drain down. If I just open this, there'll be oil everywhere and I'd make a mess. So now that our oil extractor is fully under vacuum, we're going to flip the switch, we're going to start sucking, that's draining there. Now we're going to move on. While that's going, we're going to go on to the cabin air filter and replace the cabin air filter. Very good. Now here we are at the interior on the passenger side footwell. We're doing the cabin air filter. There are 3 push clips that you have to remove in order to remove this trim piece right here, which hides the cabin air filter housing, which is this guy right here. You start off with this clip here, then there's a number of clips. and then the whole thing drops down. As you can see, somebody actually put it in the wrong way. The writing is supposed to be on the bottom, and as you can see here, there's a deformation in the cabin air filter itself. So this filter wasn't actually doing its full job. Here we have the brand new one. As you can see, the writing, there are arrows that point which the airflow is directed. You want it to go in this way. You just want to curve it a little bit, giggity, to get it in the proper mounted position, and you'll know when it's properly mounted in there when it looks like that, because it's going to stick out just a little bit because it goes into this channel right here. Now that our filter is fully installed, we should be able to install the cover. And you know when it's installed when you hear all those clicks click. Very good. Next thing, we get our trim piece. Make sure it's under the dash like so. And then our little studs are gonna pop out just like that. Just like that. And then we got 1, 2, reposition that where it should be, and then 3. Cabin air filters installed. Let's move back to the engine bay, Meow. Alright guys, Meow, I don't know how many times I said this on the channel, whenever you're doing an oil change, always, and I mean always, replace the O-ring on the oil filter cup and make sure it's in the right channel as well. And that's on every oil change. So the little stuff in between, guys, well, just a little bit, not a lot. You don't want it to be running on the customer. We also get a little bit in the tailgate latch. Passenger rear. Passenger front. And then when we're done in the engine bay, we will get the hood latches. Very good. You know, here's a little tips and tricks of the video, or something I personally like to do whenever I have an oil filter housing like this and I'm filling the oil. I like to fill some of the oil through the housing and let it drain down. Just primes the system that much better. But some people do it, some people don't. I do. Alright, Meow, we're up to the pretty much the difficult part of the job of the 40,000 mile service. We got to replace the spark plugs, and I'm just assessing to see, well, which side is going to be worse. Is it going to be this side, or is it going to be this side? I can clearly see that coil. There's one under here, so I'm going to have to put that harness up a little bit. Might have to disconnect a few things over there. This side looks like there's a little bit more in the way. I'm going to do the hard side first. Giggity. Okay guys, now that I have 2 of the coils out, the back one was pretty easy. I was able to pull it out. Giggity. The middle one, I had to pull out a little bit, then turn it about 90 degrees clockwise so the connector is on this side, then I was able to pull it out. The first one now, I should be able to pull it out, giggity, a little bit, and then turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise, and I should be able to remove that and then gain access to all 3 spark plugs on the driver's side bank. Very good. Alrighty. Very good, Meow, ladies and gentlemen. We got all 3 spark plugs out. We got them right here. Now there is a special tool that is very necessary in order to remove these plugs because they're not shaped like your traditional spark plug. So the number is right here. It's an AST tool, MSP 1412. It's a 12-point spark plug socket. As you can see, the spark plugs are 12-point. We have our chemicals ready, we have our spark plugs ready, and we have our spark plug installer. Shout out to Elvis at Apex Tech in NYC. This was one of the first tools I made. Homemade tools work if they work. We got our spark plugs, we got our high temp NICs. We put a little bit on the spark plug threads, and we have some dielectric grease. We put a little bit in the coil. Very good. Let's get these plugs in there and I'll torque down the specifications. Very good. Dun 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 dun. Alright. Now what this special tool does, it helps me, let's turn the light on, it helps me install the spark plug. Instead of using an extension with the tube, you use this tube. And you know when you can't thread anymore because it stops, and look, when you pull out, it doesn't leave the socket in there because we're not using a socket. Now let's show you how much NICs we put on those plugs. Now here we have our next plug ready to go. Gap has been checked. Now you see how much NICs I have in there? Not a lot. It's not caked up through the threads where it's going to contaminate the spark or it's going to ooze out anywhere. We just put just enough so it's going to coat the threads and not screw the next guy. Very good. Alright, Meow guys, we have our spark plugs all installed hand tight. Now our torque spec on the driver's side is 30 Fig Newtons. On the passenger side, it's 30 Isaac Newtons. Very good. Now for the coil, we just put a little dab. Just enough, and then we reinstall. This first one was the most difficult as we had to maneuver the harness a little bit more than we wanted to and rotate, and we're in. A little bit of little juju bead right there. Put this one in, give it a 90-degree turn, installed. And the last one, and I always put the coil back in the same hole it came out of. Giggity. Yep, up. Let's rotate that. Very good. Now our coils are back in. We'll put our mounting bolts back, harness back down, plug in our coil packs, and then we're going to move on to the passenger side. Very good. Now that we're at the passenger side, it's looking like this guy has to come up a little bit. This fuel line could just attach from there and just kind of be up here. And then I should be able to access, really that coil is only going to give me the business. This one we can clearly see, that one we can clearly see. Just once I undo the connector, I should be able to maneuver. Alright, very good. Let's get it out. One, two, and three, Very good. Just a little bit. Wiggle it, just a little bit. Dielectric grease it, just a little bit. And the last one, just a little bit. Very good. Now get in there with your brothers. Oh, wrong drawer. Get in there. Alright, Mel, let's see how she sounds after the service. Contact. Hey, she sounds very, very good. Very good. Very good, ladies and gentlemen. We have just performed the 40,000 mile major service to a 2021 Audi Q7. Until then, guys, if you don't know what to do yet, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification for further content.